You've got an $8 trillion projected debt over the next 10 years, and you've got trillions more in projected deficits when you start counting entitlements. Everybody's been looking at Ken Conrad's charts here for the last several years about it. And so at that very moment, suddenly the headlines that people are seeing is bank bailout, recovery package, and it all kind of merges together into just this blob of spending, and people aren't seeing how's this benefiting me. It just looks like Washington business as usual, and all that suspicion gets amplified. So it's completely understandable. I think the way that we regain trust is to pursue good policies, but not be afraid also to explain these policies, and to be honest with the American people that we're not going to dig ourselves out of this hole overnight. So a couple things I've done. I have encouraged that we go back to pay-go, pay-as-you-go. People understand that concept. You pay as you go. I congratulate the Senate on voting for it. I expect the House to get it done. I want to sign that.
Not a single Republican.
The second thing you already mentioned is this non-defense discretionary freeze. One thing I want to mention, though, it's not as if we're not going after defense as well. It's just it would be irresponsible when we have two wars for me to impose that same kind of limitation, tie my hands, not knowing what contingencies may be needed. But if you look at what Bob Gates has been doing in the Defense Department in really going after some sacred cows over at the Pentagon, he's been serious about it. We've already saved billions of dollars. We intend to keep saving billions of dollars more on that front as well. We've already proposed $20 billion worth of savings for this year by eliminating and consolidating programs. Last year we proposed $17 billion, and we were poo-pooed. Some of the editorials were all, 17, this is a pittance. Only in Washington is $17 billion a pittance. But it also indicates one of the dangers that we have is that you've got to chip away at this problem. So every dollar counts. The work that Claire's done on auditing, if we can squeeze out $5 million here, $10 million here, make this program work a little bit better, over time it creates good habits. And it starts exercising the fiscal restraint muscles in ways that won't affect programming for people, but will affect our bottom line. So we're moving aggressively. We hope this year we get that stuff done. But what we also have to understand is that if I take all the steps that I've put forward and Congress follows my lead on the non-defense discretionary spending, we're prudent in terms of defense spending, and we do all the things that we've talked about, we've still got this structural deficit that we've inherited. Essentially, what my proposal does is to pay for the Recovery Act and the other extraordinary steps we had to take for last year, so that I will have covered what happened on my watch. That's important to understand. Whatever spending that I had to take that was extraordinary, that you took with me, including the Recovery Act, if we follow my budget outline, we will have taken care of, paid for what happened on our watch. But what we will not have solved is that huge structural deficit that existed the day I walked in. And we've got to be able to tell the truth to the American people that that is hard to solve. And the reason it's hard to solve is most of it is coming from entitlements that people like. And it has to do with the fact that there's this huge gap between the amount of money being paid out and the amount of money coming in. And everybody understands this here, but I think that there's a misperception in the public. If you ask your average constituent, where does federal dollars go? They'll tell you foreign aid. And you say, well, foreign aid accounts for 1% of our budget. And then they'll say, well, earmarks. Look, I think we have to discipline ourselves on earmarks just because symbolically I think it makes people feel like we're not showing the same kind of discipline that they are. Even for worthy projects, you still got to make choices. So they're absolutely right about that. But earmarks account for about 1% of the budget. All right, so even if we eliminated all foreign aid and all earmarks, it doesn't solve our problem. And as far as the arguments that our colleagues on the other side of the aisle are making, I think it's important to explain to people that in order for us to balance the budget while exempting entitlements, no new revenues, you'd have to cut non-discretionary defense spending by 60%. Cut it by 60%. That's everything. Student loans, NASA, veterans programs, you name it, we'd have to cut by 60%, 60. That's just not going to happen. That's why we called for the commission, because we've got to look at some tough, long-term policy objectives. And that's why we've got to, and I will personally do this, I will say to my Republican friends, I want to solve it. I don't want to play politics on it, but you've got to step up. You've got to fill these slots with this commission that we're going to set up, put these people in a room, and actually solve some of these problems. And I hope they do. And maybe I'm naive. I'm still counting, Evan, on the notion that good policy over the long term is good politics. If you do the right thing and you explain it clearly and you do it openly, I'm confident that the American people, you can have an adult conversation and say, this is not going to be easy, this is not going to be painless, we're going to be struggling for a while, but our future is bright. And if we show the same grit and determination that previous generations have shown, I have every confidence that we are going to have a 21st century that was the American century just like the 20th. All right? Thank you, everybody. God bless you.